Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining me for, sorry, just being nosy, for another beer review. We're back to the supermarkets now for this one, and we are going to a brewery that are out of Leeds. I have had a couple of their beers, but not too many. And the one we are looking at is their Brownie Hunter. It's from Wilde Brewing Co. Sorry, I'm getting a bit carried away there. Wilde Brewing Co. out of Leeds, and we're looking at their Brownie Hunter, and this is a chocolate fudge brownie stout. It's coming in at 4.9% in a 440ml can. Nice artwork, it's got to be said. There we go, nice artwork, and it's got an award on the side there, which is World Beer Awards England winner. So doesn't really narrow it down too much, does it? But yeah, hopefully it'll be quite nice. It's a bit of a grey day, so a stout will go down well. Though, it's got to be said, I have just got this out of the fridge. So I'm going to guess this is about 5 degrees, maybe-ish. Picked up from Morrison's. £3 the label was. I can't honestly remember if it's part of a 4 for 3. It probably was, but there's a chance it might not have been. So £3. We're looking at a sort of sensible price for that sort of thing, but is it going to be any good? There is only one way we're going to know. I will hold that there. If you want to pause it, try and zoom in on it and read all the back, you're welcome to. Because I ain't going to be able to read it. So let's get it cracked open. Now, I don't have a Wilde Brewing Co. glass, so I'm going to whack it in this Black Cloak Brewing Co. glass. They're out of Wales. It's sort of stouty, isn't it? So it's going to go in there. So let's get it cracked open, see what we get. Ooh. Hope you're all good. Like I say, Thursday evening. It's always good to have a beer. I've got a feeling this is probably going to be very light. It's supermarket beer again. I don't want to knock supermarket beer, but you can certainly tell the difference in quality between sort of supermarket craft beer and a beer that you've got sort of direct from the brewery that isn't one of them that is brewed to a price range, if you like. So there we go, beer in a glass. It's not jet black. There is just a fraction of light getting through on the bottom of the glass, which is very, very brown. So I'm going to say it's a very, very deep, dark brown chocolate sort of looking beer. I'm not seeing much. Do that, I can't see a bloody thing with that. Do that, try and get the light out of the camera. There's probably a few bubbles of carbonation going up. We got just about half a finger of tan head, and that has sort of picked up again, giving it a swirl. Does look a little bit creamier now. So yeah, it's not bad looking beer. So I'm going to dive in with the nose, see what we get. What would we expect from this? Well, I expect that sort of typical stouty note, chocolate, fudge, brownie, sweet maybe as well. So let's go in. Oh yeah, it does smell nice actually. It's got a lovely, you definitely, for me, you definitely get that brownie note, that sort of baked, sort of doughy thing going on in there, and you definitely get that fudge. You definitely get that sort of like, they've got the fudge and the brownie perfect. And yeah, you know, the chocolate is there. I think the fudge and the brownie was the first thing that I picked up. You get that sort of rich chocolate in there. It's got to be said on the nose. It smells very nice indeed, and you don't really pick up that sort of stout thing that you normally would. But that is probably sitting in the background over the bold flavours that are there. But it does smell very rich. It smells very indulgent. It doesn't smell too sweet or sickly though, which is a good thing. But I've got to say, I've got a feeling it's going to be very, very light. So let's dive in. Wilde Brewing Co. Brownie Hunter, chocolate fudge brownie stout, 4.9%, £3 from Morrison's, possibly part of a 4 for 3, but I can't remember. Cheers. The flavours are there, but again, it's a stout. This would be so much better with a fuller body. It really would. This brewed at like 7% or something, and really actually trying to build the beer up would make it so much better. The head's gone on the beer, it's gone in on itself. .9%. I don't think the body of the beer is that bad, but it's not a fantastic body on it. It's certainly not. It's sort of lightish without being wishy-washy. But the body of the beer actually isn't that bad. There is nice gentle carbonation in there, small bubbles. It is very drinkable, it's got to be said. Mouth feels pretty smooth, but again, I think if they were brewing this bigger and bolder and making the body so much heavier, I mean, it would be super smooth. Super smooth, it really would. Flavours in there are subtle. Certainly a lot more powerful on the nose, I would say, than they are the taste. The flavours are subtle, but you do get them all. Maybe on this occasion that might be a good thing, because I think you still get the flavours, myself personally, without being bombarded by sweetness, which is something that can happen. And when they're too sweet, you can just ruin a beer straight away. We'll get the rest in. Maybe the beer will change now I've got the rest in. And I think it has actually, believe it or not, I think a lot more flavour has come into that beer by getting the rest out. Chocolate, brownie. You do get that doughiness with this. It's got a subtle sweetness. You still get that sort of stouty background to the beer, the sort of roasted malt side of it, but that's kind of subtle as well. Probably subtle because of all the other flavours there. I've got to admit, I do actually quite like this. It's not without its faults. I say its faults. Its faults could be just because it's sort of lighter, and this beer could be so much better if it was heavier and bigger and bolder. But they haven't overdone it on the sweetness. The body isn't really that bad. It does sort of feel a bit light. Would be nice if the head hung around a bit more. But if I'm honest, I've done the Darkness Beckons on the Perfect Draft, which was a coffee stout. Same ABV. I think I would have preferred this in a keg form rather than that Darkness Beckons. I think this is a much nicer sort of stout. 4.9%. You don't get it all. You still get that stout feel. So you still know it's a beer. It's not overpowered, like I say, with sweetness. I quite like it. I've got to be honest, I actually quite like this, and it could have quite easily been one of them that I ripped apart. And I ripped a few sort of stouts apart and had a go at them. And like I say, Darkness Beckons on the Perfect Draft was probably one of them. And here we're looking at a can of beer, 440ml. All right, you'd need quite a few cans to fill a keg, but at £3, which is much nicer, and the keg was sort of like 40 quid. I still think this would come out cheaper. in cans if you just bought loads of cans, really, to be honest. I think, what would you have to buy? You'd have to buy about 14 cans. All right, 42 quid. All right, maybe not. But in all honesty, I actually think the beer is much nicer. Yeah, I could rip it a new arsehole if I really wanted to, but I can't. I really can't. The body's half decent. The flavours are there. It's not oversweet. It's half decent beer. £3 a can, Morrison's. So there you go. That's what I think of it. You can tell I like it. I think it's quite nice. An imperial version of that could be absolutely bloody amazing. But that is quite nice, quite decent. I think it's worth picking up. If you like your stouts, I think there's plenty of flavour in there. They're sort of subtle, but the flavours are there, like I say. If you've had this beer before, let me know what you think. Feel free to comment. Thank you all for watching. Probably bored you shitless. See you soon on another one. Cheers.